Hi, I'm Bill from CJ Pony Parts. We've shown you several different ways to lower your 2015 Mustang using lowering springs from well-known manufacturers such as Ford Racing, Steeda, and Eibach. The one thing all these springs have in common is they always lower the back more than the front to give the car a nice flat stance. Many of you have commented in the videos that sometimes it actually looks like the rear sits lower than the front. The reason for that, it's kind of an optical illusion. If you look at the 2015 Mustang, the rear wheel wells actually sit closer to the ground than the front do from the factory. We've always felt that styling would make this car look a lot better with a set of raked springs. What I mean by raked is actually lower the front more than the back to give it a nice custom look. We decided to team up with a well-known spring manufacturer to produce these CJ Pony Parts springs. You're going to lower the front of your Mustang 1.5 inches and lower the rear 1 inch for that custom rake look. Today we're going to show you how to install a set using our 2015 Mustang GT. These CJ Pony Parts springs are sold as a set of 4 and include dust boosts for the front struts, as well as a complete set of new bump stops for the front and rear. Like I said, they're going to lower the front of your GT Mustang by 1.5 inches and lower the back by 1 inch. They also can be used on an EcoBoost, but you're going to get a 1 inch drop all the way around when using them on that model. For this installation, let a lift and a pull jack or a jack and jack stands, 1/2 inch ratchet, 13mm socket, 15mm socket, 18mm socket, 3/4 socket, 13/16 socket, 15/16 deep socket, 21mm socket, short extension, 15mm wrench, 17mm wrench, 1/2 inch impact gun, panel removal tool, hammer, and a spring compressor. The first step in the installation of installing the CJ Pony Parts springs is going to be to get the car up off the ground and remove all 4 wheels. With the wheel off, we're going to begin the installation by disconnecting the sway bar from the strut. To do that, you want to put a wrench on the back side to hold the sway bar and then remove the nut. The sway bar out of the way, we're going to move on to disconnecting the caliper. To get that off the bracket, there's 2 15mm bolts. There's one right here and one down here. Remove them, remove the caliper from the bracket, and set it aside. We're going to remove the 2 ABS lines as well, one from the strut mount here, and then one from the side of the strut down here. To separate the spindle from the strut, these nuts and bolts have to be removed. We're going to start by taking the nuts off. You don't want to take them all the way off, just to the edge. I'll explain why in a minute. Thread it on just to the edge of the bolt. The reason for leaving the nut is you have to actually hammer these bolts out since they're pressed on. If you didn't have the nut there, you could mushroom the end of the bolt and not get the nut back on. And leaving the nut gives you a better surface to hit and also doesn't damage the threads. Usually at this point, you can get them through by hand. Separate the strut from the spindle. Now we're going to move up to the engine bay. The strut is held to the strut tower by these 3 nuts. What you want to do is remove the first 2. You go to remove the last one, make sure you hold on to the strut or it'll fall off. Now we have the strut assembly on the table, we have to remove the spring. To do that, you want to compress the spring first before removing the nut on the top of the strut. Now we'll decompress the spring. Before we reinstall the spring, there's a couple changes we have to make. We want to remove the dust boot, and also remove the factory bump stop. We got to replace it with the lower one. While we're installing the springs, we're going to upgrade from the factory mounts. These caster camber plates from Maximum Motorsports. These are much better mount than the factory and also allow us to dial in our camber to make our alignment even better. The Maximum Motorsports caster camber plate is going to replace the top of the strut mount. So you want to separate these two pieces, put that aside. You want to keep the rubber insulator. You want to make sure this edge is parallel with that line there. The stud plates are actually universal, but this plate is specific. You make sure it sits with the studs, that these two lines are parallel. We'll just rest it till it seats on there and moves cleanly. Now we can reassemble the strut. We're going to put our new spring into the compressor. Strut assembly back through. Make sure the spring is seated properly and decompress the spring. And our assembly is ready to reinstall in the car. When reinstalling the spring assembly into the car, you want to make sure that this ear here is facing outward. They go out towards the fender. This flat bar here faces towards the front. To put this up into place, use one of the supplied bolts and washers to hold it in. And we're holding the strut up through there. Install the supplied top plate. Again, hand tighten nuts and washers. Now we're going to reconnect the strut to the spindle. When we tighten these nuts, it'll actually pull the bolts through. Just give them a little tap to get them started. Those bolts tight, now we can reinstall the rotor and caliper. We'll thread one lug nut on just to hold the rotor in place. Makes it a lot easier to line up the caliper. I'm going to reconnect the ABS line next. We'll reinstall the sway bar end link. Now up here in the tower, we're going to tighten down these 3 bolts, then torque them to 46 foot-pound. And repeat the process on the other side and move on to your rear suspension. We'll start the installation in the back by first popping the ABS line off the bracket to give us some more room. And we're going to remove this bolt here and disconnect the brake line again to give us some more room to work. With that out of the way, remove the 2 bolts that hold the shock to the body. Take this little cap up here to sort of rock it back and forth to pop it off. And we can access the nut we need to remove to get off the shock bracket. Remove the nut and the bracket. For the rear installation, the bump stop is again located inside this dust boot. Unlike the front, the rear dust boot does get reused, but this gets replaced inside. To get this up, basically just want to force it over. There is a little lip on the edge here, so it can get stuck. Just be careful and force it up over it. Once you have it off, just separate the factory bump stop from the boot by pushing it down inside. You can see the height difference between the factory bump stop and the aftermarket one for our lowering springs. Put this into place. And reinstall on the shock. To get the spring out, we're going to lower the subframe down one side at a time. So the first thing you want to do, support the subframe, and then we're going to remove the bolts to lower it down. We'll start by loosening these 2 front bolts. You don't have to take them all the way out, just get them most of the way so they stay in place and hold the bracket. Now we're going to remove the 2 subframe bolts. Now we're going to lower down the subframe so we can remove the spring. Basically, you want to lower it until there's no more tension on the jack. Let's pull down the suspension. You're going to reinstall the new CJ spring the same way. Make sure our logo is facing upward. Install the insulator on the top, just like factory, and put it into place. Make sure the bottom's in the bucket it's supposed to be, and we can push it on. And then jack the subframe back up. Put both subframe bolts in. Just get them started by hand before you hit them with a gun. Tighten down the 2 front bolts. And tighten down the subframe bolts. And then let down the jack. The spring installed, we can reinstall the mount to the shock. Put the cap back on. And reinstall the shock to the body. The last step then to reinstall the ABS line and the actual brake hose. Repeat the process on the other side and your installation's finished. I'm really digging a look at the CJ Pony Parts springs on our 2015 GT. The lower look screams modern, but yet the rake screams muscle car. Best of all, with our Maximum Motorsports casted camber plates and their alignment dialed in perfectly. Installations like a typical spring take you around 2 hours to be back on the road in no time. For more installation videos for your 2015 Mustang, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out cjponyparts.com for the best selection of 2015 Mustang parts.